Hello YouTube world. It is hard to believe it's already somehow February, and if you're like me, you're probably itching to get back into your garden too. I know I am, and so here's a couple of things that you can do this time of year to make sure that your spring is looking tidy and beautiful. So in this video, all you're going to need is your favorite set of pruners, and I'm going to walk you through how to prune roses, how to cut back your evergreen perennials, and how to cut back grasses. So those are the three things that I love doing this time of year. This is going to help create a tidy garden in the spring, so when things are blooming, you have less to do then, and you're able to sit back and enjoy. So let's get started. Evergreen perennials like hellebores and ferns provide some green winter interest in a time where most things are brown. But this time of year, you'll start to notice things browning and flopping over. This is because the new spring growth is pushing up and forcing the old leaves to fall over. Do you have to cut these back? No, you don't. I'm just a little OCD about things, and so I like to cut back that old evergreen foliage to make room for that new foliage. If you have the space in your garden and you don't mind the old foliage mixing with the new, by all means, leave it. But if you like that tidier look in your garden, now is the easiest time to do it because you can just chop things away carelessly without having to accidentally worry about cutting back the new foliage that's emerging. Honestly, same concept applies to grasses you have growing in your garden. They provided beautiful structure during the winter time, but soon they'll be pushing up new growth too. If you wait too long, you'll be trying to cut away last year's foliage while trying to avoid this year's growth, and that's a very sucky activity. Trust me, it's much easier to hack away now and then kick back in spring and relax. Here's a word of caution though. Some evergreen grasses do not like being cut back. So if you don't know whether to cut or not, it's best to consult your friend Google or a local master garden extension. Today, I'm going to be cutting grasses that I know are okay to cut back this time of year, which include Haconocloa, monkey grass, and muhly grass. Lastly, let's talk late winter rose pruning. Ideally, you want to prune roses before they break dormancy. Oftentimes, that's around this time of year. Now, this is the time of year that you prune to create a strong, sturdy base for your shrub rose and a good shape. The first thing you want to do is get some bleach because you're going to be sanitizing your pruners in between every rose you prune and before you start. I've lost too many roses to rose rosette's disease. It's absolutely tragic, so I don't mess around with using dirty pruners on roses anymore. Now take a step back and inspect your shrub. This time of year, I cut my roses down to about 12 to 18 inches tall. I'm going to be focusing on removing any dead canes, any canes that are crossing, and any canes that look particularly wimpy. If your cane is thinner than a number 2 pencil, your rose bush doesn't need it. Now, when you're going to make your cuts, you're going to want to make sure that you're cutting at a 45-degree angle, and you're going to want to make sure that you're cutting above a leaf node that's facing the outside of the shrub. This will ensure that your rose branches, when they grow, they're not growing into the shrub and causing poor air circulation. Those are really the key principles that apply when you're pruning your established shrub roses this time of year. Here's a quick bonus tip if you're like me and constantly losing your gloves. Pruning roses without gloves sucks, but I've learned that you can use your pruners as tongs to gather your cuttings without stabbing yourselves on rose thorns. So I hope that was a helpful, quick overview of some things you can be doing now while you've kind of got the spring itchies. Let's talk timing. So in my area, which I garden in Atlanta, that's a zone 7B, 8A, I feel like February is about the time when I, do some spring cleanup in the garden. But that might be different for your climate. There's a couple of things that are kind of a telltale giveaway that spring is on the way. So a couple of things you can look out for, even if you don't grow this plant, but it might be in your neighborhood or in your surrounding area, is forsythia. Forsythias, when they bloom, that's a pretty good sign that spring is on the way. Other things are hellebores are blooming. You'll start seeing daffodil foliage emerge, and you'll start seeing not just the foliage, but the buds. And sometimes plants just tell you. So you can see ferns start to droop over, and instead of taking up maybe 3 feet, they take up 5 feet of space in your garden. similar to hellebore foliage. They were kind of standing more upright and now they flop over. So once you start seeing that, that's a good sign that you can get out there with your pruners, clean things up so that when spring comes, you just get to kick back and relax. You know what I mean, aka pull weeds and do other things that come up. Anyways, I hope that was helpful. If you have any suggestions for things you might want to see, I do these kind of quickie YouTube videos. I don't know if you'll ever see a YouTube video from me that's 30 minutes long, because honestly, I struggle to make 5-minute long videos. But if you want more quickie kind of tutorials and you have a question or you're curious on a topic, drop it in the comments. Happy gardening!